Welcome everyone back to another video on the channel. Today we'll be talking about a bit more of 2024 related to St Kilda, the Saints who need to step up in 2024. So let's just get straight into it. So we'll start by addressing the elephant in the room, and that's probably Dougal Howard. He's copped a lot of hate due to his unreliability and inconsistencies in 2023. Lost his spot for the elimination final, so clearly the coaches kind of agree with the fans as well in that Howard just wasn't at his best in 2023, and Cordy ultimately was ahead of him. So in 2024, hopefully he can have a really big preseason. I remember in 2023, at the start of this year, for preseason, a lot of the players said Howard actually had done really well. So clearly, the players thought that he was about to, have a really good season. So I think a lot of his issues at the moment are coming from his mentality and the way he plays. I think his body is really good. He's got really good attributes. He's fast. He closes on leads really well. He's got a lot of speed for a fullback, his size, and I think, he's pretty strong as well. I think maybe a bit more upper body work could do him a lot of favors, but in general, he's pretty set physically. He just needs to get that mental side of things right, and by that I mean, making good decisions, executing on those decisions, and just not really losing his head in games, because sometimes when he loses a one-on-one, some things like that, it just goes downhill from there. Those unreliable spins he does, he needs to get those out of his game. He's a fullback. His role is to lock down on a key forward, not to really do any fancy footwork and distribute the ball like Jack Sinclair does. So needs to simplify his game a little bit, and hopefully we see him become a bit more reliable in 2024, because I think that will go a long way. Because defensively, I think he's a bit underrated. A lot of fans just assume that he's a bad defender because of how bad his distribution is and all that other stuff. So defensively, he's good. Maybe he could improve a little bit more, but that's not his biggest issue. I think it's just reliably distributing the ball and just not doing those 360 spins, because they're so frustrating to watch. We'll move on to the next player, and this is a bit of a different story. This is more of a younger player who's under pressure, and that's Matthew Allison. He's a first round pick back in 2020, I think, and he's had a couple of seasons to prove himself already on an AFL list, and he hasn't been able to do so. He had a really big preseason this year, wasn't able to capitalize on that because of injuries. And hopefully in 2024 he doesn't drop his head. Hopefully he puts in the same amount of effort he did in 2023. According to training reports, he has come back in really good shape. His upper body is looking a lot stronger, so that's really good for a player of 194 centimeters. Needs to really fill out his body, so it's good to see that he's got to work on that, and hopefully that can complement his elite running ability that I think we all are aware of. After he came in the podium in the 2km time trial last year, or at the start of this season. So definitely got the attributes. Probably just needs to work on his skills a little bit and his accumulation. And I think most importantly, he needs to settle into one position. So he got drafted as a centre half forward type of player. Played a bit of wing in his juniors, and I think last season he played a bit more on the wing, which I think is his preferred position with his running capacity. I think the coaches want him to kind of replace Mason Wood going forward, but if he is to do that, there's a lot of work for him to do ahead of 2024. So needs a massive preseason, really lock down a position, train it up in the VFL, because a lot of the issues with not getting the ball as much come from being thrown around too much. When you get thrown around in multiple roles, can't really settle, and then you just don't perform really well, can't really get the running patterns or whatever really set down. So if he can just spend maybe the first half of the season honing in on his wing craft, and then potentially make a debut late in the season, I think there's some promising signs for him there, and hopefully he can maintain a list spot going into 2025. Then we have another youngster, Max Heath. So has also had a couple of years of development as a big man. He's probably still in his early years of development, so not too much pressure on him, but it would be nice to see him debut in 2024. I think in 2023 his main issue was that his aerobic fitness wasn't there. In VFL he did quite well when he was playing forward ruck, so he kicked a couple of bags of goals, which was nice to see. So he can obviously have an impact in that forward line. Kind of unable to run out of games when he's playing a bit more ruck time, when Tom Campbell was like a travelling emergency and wasn't playing VFL, and Max Heath was the main ruck. He just couldn't run out games, I think. So something for him to work on is just his running capacity, and I think he's already gone to work on that. On day one of preseason, training reports had reported that Max Heath had individual fitness staff member coaching him through the running process. So the coaches have really emphasized the need for Heath to improve his aerobic capacity, because I think he has the tools to become a really promising ruckman at AFL level. I think to start his career he might be a forward ruck to pair with Rowan Marshall. And when Marshall, retires or whatever in a half a decade, Heath hopefully can step up and become that sole in that main ruckman, and then Kilda can become the next ruck forward. So that's really long term. So a bit too early to think about that now. But hopefully, just the main goal in 2024 is to make a debut, improve his fitness, because he's actually pretty good overhead. So that's something you really want with a big man. He's got decent forward craft, probably can improve a bit more on that. And then ruck craft, I think a bit more improvement in that as well. But he's still quite a raw ruckman, even after a couple years. We know that ruckmen take a really long time to develop, could take up to, 6 or 7 years. So definitely need to be patient with Heath as a long-term project. Then we have Hunter Clark, so a bit more of a mature player, senior regular in 2023, had a pretty solid season through the midfield. So he finally moved into the midfield full time this year, which was good to see under Lenny Hayes. But I think still quite an underwhelming season. He was probably on the verge of being dropped a couple of times, and also had that injury mid-season. I think it was a knee injury that kept him out for a month or so. So at least I guess he played 2/3 of the season, which was promising compared to previous seasons. But we just want to see him get a bit fitter and stronger. He's obviously a very skillful player, so hopefully we can see him utilize those skills a bit more through the midfield, whether that would just be through accumulating or getting in better positions to go inside 50. I think, just in general, he needs to get a lot fitter. Often he was playing sub 70% time on ground. If you compare that with our other midfielders in like Crouch and Steele, they were getting 80+% time on ground. So Clark needs to really work on his running capacity, because he's not the fastest player. So he needs to either be an aerobic beast or needs to be a really fast player, and hopefully a bit stronger in the upper body through his arms, just to be able to hold up in tackles, because we don't really see him fend off players effectively or stand up in a tackle. So hopefully he can get a bit stronger there. And really just try and hit the gym really hard in the preseason. His main goal probably is to become that two-way midfielder where you can defend really well and then going forward can also attack effectively. And I want to see him become, a 23+ disposal midfielder. At the moment, I think he's around 20, maybe sub 20. I haven't looked at the stats, so I could be completely wrong, but just for him to accumulate a bit more, he doesn't need to become, Lockie Neal, Tom Mitchell type, where you just when you see them get 35+ disposals, you're not really surprised. I think Clark just needs to be, 20, hopefully like a consistent 25+ disposal player, and be able to use it effectively. And I think we'll definitely see him improve in 2024. The next player is another experienced player. This might be a bit surprising and controversial, but I've got Jack Steele down here. Had a bit of a down season, but probably not to his fault. He was asked by Ross Lyon to slim down a little bit to increase his running capacity, and we know that his size was probably a real asset of his through his All-Australian season, where he was just able to bust through packs tackle, really contested midfielder, but had to try and improve his outside game a bit more this year. And then it didn't help that he got struck down by a couple of injury niggles throughout the year as well. So hopefully he can get to 100% again with his body for 2024 over the preseason, get really strong, but also keep that running capacity. So, you know, we want to see him get back to that All-Australian form where he was just a massive blocking mid, 30 plus disposals, 10 plus tackles, that type of player. So as the captain, hopefully he can have a rebound to that All-Australian form, because I think we really missed that really A+ grade midfielder. Our midfield doesn't really have the best depth. We have Brad Crouch, Seb Ross, and Hunter Clark moving through there. So not really any A graders. So with the one A grader we do have, we want them to be really top echelon midfielder. And Jack Steele is the one capable of that. And hopefully we can see a bit more of that in 2024. Mitch Owens and Mateus Philippou will probably roll through the midfield a bit more. So when they're in the midfield, we want Steele to be able to, you know, try and cover for them a little bit, if that makes any sense. So just try to protect them, just show them how it's done, I guess. So we wanted to get back to that All-Australian form. Might be a bit harder as a slimmer player, but I think the most important thing is just for him to stay 100% healthy. Try to avoid niggles. It's probably easier said than done, but yeah, just hopefully a bit of luck can help him back to his really top form in 2024. Then finally, we have Zack Jones. So I've seen a lot of best 22s, best 23s recently, and none of them have Zack Jones in the 22. And I don't think any of them have him even in the emergency. So he's kind of a forgotten player because of his injuries. Everyone just expects that he just won't play a full season or even a significant portion of the season because of his injuries. Probably got a bit lucky getting that extra year on his contract for 2024. So I think this is the year he really has to capitalize on this opportunity we've given him. At full fitness, he really does provide a spark to our midfield that none of our other players possess, with his speed and his mix of grunt as well. So toughness, yeah, just provides a really unique element to our midfield. So if he can get to full fitness, I think he can provide a really unique set of attributes to our midfield. If he can stay injury free for a full season, I think he can really get back to his best form. He's not that old either. I think he's around 29-ish, not sure, 28 to 30 years old. So he's not too old yet. He's still probably in his prime, later years of his prime. So can still have a really big impact our midfield. And I think for his own sake, for his own career, I think it's really important that he gets the full fitness, you know, has an impact on our season. So hoping to see him have a bigger impact in 2024. So those are the 6 players I think need to really step up in 2024 for various different reasons, in various different situations. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like on it. Comment your thoughts on whether you agree with me and who you think are players that need to step up for the Saints in 2024. Make sure to drop a sub for the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.